And so the facility is a little bit different from the club, right? So the Southern California Curling Center is a different entity than Hollywood Curling.
Exactly. I think when we started going down this path of looking for dedicated ice, and we looked at what everyone else was doing. I was at all the members' assemblies. I saw what Denver did and what the Dakota did and Arizona. Seeing what everyone came across, and it varied so much. It's all these unique circumstances, and we really zeroed down on what it take to do it here. It was just, it's $1 million proposal. It's a really intensive, kind of facility. Like the real estate market's kind of out of control, and so it was just like, how do you do this? And then thinking about how do you do that with a volunteer board and the kind of burnout and all that sort of stuff. Uh, it became a kind of a tough prospect. And then when we had this opportunity to unlink the club from the facility, it seemed like a real win-win to allow membership to do membership stuff, to run the club, to do juniors, to do things like that. Whereas the facility becomes its own beast that then uh, you look at it on a day-to-day basis. You have people running that on a day-to-day basis to make that work. So I think we kind of were able to find that solution that worked. Hopefully, will work best for everyone to happen here in this kind of market, which is very different than like Cincinnati's has to deal with.
Yeah, so to further expand on that, just to explain, Southern California Curling Center will be the physical building and everything that it takes to make the ice and get things running. That's the organization that Matt and I have founded with our business partner Peter Dome, and it was Peter who approached us back in 2018, coming hot off of the Olympics, and had he's former aerospace, former SpaceX engineer, and came to the table and said, I want to see this happen. I'm passionate about the sport. I see what you guys are trying to do with Hollywood curling. And we really talked about all of the different models that we thought it would take and decided to pursue this. And in that process, we wanted to make sure that Hollywood curling had a place there. So Hollywood curling is like our main business partner, our main connection in there. Hollywood curling will essentially manage and run the member-led events, and the facility will be sort of more public facing for things like private parties, learn to curls, those kinds of things will fall more under the facility. And we looked at facilities that do something similar and tried to come up with a model that we thought would best serve our community, best serve Hollywood curling, so that Hollywood curling can really focus on doing the community-led events of growing the sport, of encouraging people to compete at a higher level, of sponsoring youth curling so that we can get kids involved at a younger level, and let them really focus on the things that the nonprofit should work on and be concerned about, while the business entity that manages the facility worries about the day-to-day operations, insurance, maintenance on things, all of the nitty gritty stuff that you don't want to entrust necessarily to a volunteer board of directors, because that's asking a lot to make sure that a facility of this size and this much overhead, it's a lot to ask volunteers to manage on a day to day, week to week, year to year basis.
And so then it's a facility you've rented, and then you're going to be converting it. And so it sounds like you're probably able to do the conversion fairly quickly then.
Yes, it has it's powered to our needs. It's a big flat open warehouse. We're using the ISS technology the ice grid technology to lay the ground, to lay the ice sheets, the ice pads, and we'll have 6 sheets of ice in this warehouse. So we'll be pretty. In fact, I think that might make it the most sheets in a club like west of Bismarck.
Yeah. Okay. So, six is good. Will there also be like what will the warm room facilities be like?
Right now, the plans have end viewing as a typical club, which will be nice. But we're also, the way it's laid out is we're going to have a substantial warm room on the side that will be you'll have some visibility through glass, but then it'll primarily be driven by like video monitors, but just a big wide open space that can be multi-purpose for potentially different events or different needs. And in pre-COVID times, we would think about the big, Bonspiel banquet being hosted inside there for all 130 players for a 32 team spiel. But post-COVID time, we're kind of thinking what that looks like still. But the nice thing is that space is gonna mean that we hopefully can be in the space without feeling cramped, feel airy. You have a big roll up door we can open up and have some fresh air, and hopefully have some semblance of broom stacking in the near term, whatever we can do safely. But obviously, a lot of dining and bar places are opening up to outdoor spaces that seems to be manageable through the health department, through all the available science so far. So, if that is a thing that still manages to be available to us, then I think we have a good chance of, especially with our weather, to continue some of that socializing in the short term while we're still dealing with the risks with the virus. So that it's all, we're all just taking it kind of day by day. And our main thing is to make sure we have curling on the ice, and then we're hopefully figure out a plan for everything else, the extracurriculars.